Posh tea makers, Twinings, has caused a bit of an upset by changing the recipe for one of its classic teas, Earl Grey. The flavour was invented by the Twinings Tea Company back in 1831 and named after the Prime Minister of the day, the Whig Charles Grey. He was a great reformer. He was the man who finally abolished slavery in the British Empire. Twinings has increased the amount of the perfumed bergamot oil in its tea. Bergamot gives Earl Grey that distinctive taste, and it's added what it calls a hint of lemon. But some visitors to the Twinings website say the tea has been ruined, and they describe it as tasting like washing up liquid, and they say it smells terrible. Claire Forster's the marketing manager for Twinings. Why did you make these changes then?
Hello there. Well, for over 300 years at Twinings, we've been making and blending teas, and over that time period, tastes and palates change, and so have our teas. We're constantly checking the blends to check that they're as good as they possibly can be. We had feedback specifically on Earl Grey that people wanted a blend that was more refreshing,
did
a
you
little
take
bit
it
stronger.
Sorry to interrupt. When you say you had feedback, did you take it to a focus group and get them to drink it?
No, we did extensive, rigorous consumer research, so quantitative testing, not testing it amongst a small group of people. This was hundreds of people. A number of times we took various different blends to them and eventually landed on an Earl Grey that people said in blind taste tests, yes, I definitely prefer this one to the old one. And it's been a fantastic success for us.
How many families, sorry to interrupt, how many families buy Earl Grey then?
Well, in the last 12 weeks, we've had an increase of 55% of new drinkers to Earl Grey, and that's an additional 200,000 people. So I'm going to have to do my maths
No, it's
here.
all right. Sorry to put you on the spot. I was just a bit puzzled that you've got this thing you're selling to hundreds of thousands of families, and on the basis of the opinion of a few hundred people, you've messed about with it a bit.
That's standard practice to explore blends, blind tasting amongst hundreds of people to make sure that it's what they call statistically significant. So you work with an independent research agency to validate the results. And as I say, it wasn't just once that we did this amongst a small group of people. We did it a number of times because, you know, Earl Grey is our world-class, world-famous blend. It's our biggest seller. We wouldn't take a decision to change it lightly unless we were absolutely 100% confident it was definitely an improvement on where we were.
Well, David Quantick, the writer and broadcaster, is one of the people who have been pouring out their hearts about their love of the old recipe Earl Grey, and I asked him where his love began.
I think when I was a student, when I'd left home, and like a lot of students, I wanted to experiment with different substances, and Earl Grey was just so different to what I'd had before. It's a fantastic aromatic drink, and I've loved it for 30 years.
Why?
I think partly there's an element of snob value. You feel that it's like the caviar of teas. You feel you're having something a bit classy that doesn't really cost that much. It's also an individual drink. I don't really like fruit teas or decaffeinated teas or red bush teas, all that. But Earl Grey's got a slight difference. That little bit of bergamot just sends it into a different dimension.
Now, your background's in music journalism. Earl Grey's not very rock and roll, is it? It's more Vicar's Tea Party.
Oh, I don't know. I think at the more sophisticated end of rock, you'll find Keith Richards and Sting enjoying a pot of Earl Grey as much as any other aromatic substance.
You serious?
No, I'm completely serious.
You've seen them do that?
I haven't actually seen them apart from in a dream, but Earl Grey is something which crosses the spectrums. I have a friend who runs a security firm. His favourite tea is Earl Grey. It's something that unites the classes, it unites everybody, it particularly unites readers of certain newspapers in a blind rage.
OK, we've got onto the blind rage. Tell me what you think about the changes to the recipe.
I think that it's an idiotic move. I think that there's nothing wrong with having options, and the people who make Earl Grey have had a variety of bizarre options over the years. Lady Grey tea. I think in Japan you can actually get Earl Grey flavoured Kit Kats. And these are fine so long as they're options, but getting rid of the centrepiece of actual Earl Grey tea itself is the insane act of a jackass.
What do you think of the new flavour?
I haven't tried it, but then I've never drunk from a gutter either.
Well, I've tried it and I can't tell the difference, I have to say.
Well, in that case, they shouldn't have bothered. I mean, the argument people keep using is classic Coke and new Coke was basically a rather weak version of the original. And I think it sounds like they've rather bottled it, as it were, with Earl Grey, that if there's really very little difference, then they shouldn't have bothered.
Now, what they are offering is the classic version online with free postage and packing for anyone who is unhappy. Will you go for that?
No, I'd like to buy it in a shop like a normal human being.
David Quantick. So we thought we'd better get an expert, independent opinion. So we've asked Alex Probyn. He's a master tea blender. He owns a company called Blends for Friends, and it makes bespoke teas. I bet you can tell the difference, can't you, between the new and the old Earl Greys?
Well, yes, of course. There is subtle differences in there because the ingredients within it itself have been changed.
Well, we've just heard from Claire Forster of Twinings that tastes are changing and that's why they've done it. Why do you think they have done it?
Well, yes, it's true to say that tastes are changing. People's portfolio of teas that they have in their cupboards are going to be slightly different compared to how they were 5 years ago. As people travel more, they're trying different flavours, seeing teas being drunk different ways in different parts of the world and want to emulate that back here. However, this is a classic. This is a classic blend which really, if you are going to change it, will cause a bit of upset to certain people who are drinking it. And as a result, I think they've changed it for other reasons possibly, and the reasons may be financial. The price of tea is going up and is going to continue to do so, and in order to carry on providing the quality that they're trying to provide for the price they're trying to provide it at, then there's going to be an issue there as well. So they're going to have to try and change it. It sounds to me as
though you're very politely trying to suggest that this is a cheaper thing. Are the basic ingredients in it, is the tea used in it cheaper?
The tea would be potentially cheaper. However, it's not to say that it's necessarily any worse. Far from it, in fact.
No, sure. But what's different then? What's the difference about the tea? We've heard it's got more bergamot oil and it's got a hint of lemon, but you're saying the tea itself is different. What's different about it?
I don't know the exact ingredients of the blends, not privy to that. However, a traditional Earl Grey would have had a higher proportion of Chinese tea in there, and Chinese tea is particular are teas which are becoming more expensive in the marketplace as well, and so that's possibly a reason why there is a change there. Claire
Forster for Twinings, can you tell us then, has it got less Chinese tea?
It hasn't, I'm afraid. So we haven't changed the tea base at all. Alex is right that China teas are increasing in value as the demand goes up, but this really is, as I said, it's a small evolution as palates and tastes change. So we've kept the tea base exactly the same. It's the same proportion. It is sourced from the same China tea gardens, and we buy from many different gardens for Earl Grey. We've kept the same bergamot. Just like, actually, the main change is that we've put more bergamot in the tea because people said they wanted a stronger one.
Okay,
and then a very, very small hint of lemon.
Before we leave it, Alex Probyn, which did you prefer then, the old or the new? Give us your verdict.
I have to be honest, and I probably preferred the earlier version of it, but again, it is personal taste as well.
Alex Probyn, Claire Forster from Twinings, thank you both.